Welcome to Integrated Insights with ICCG. For more than 30 years, our team has partnered with small business owners to prepare for and navigate the business transaction process. Pull up a chair as we share stories and insights from our experience on all sides of the M&A table. Welcome back for another episode. My name is Michael Hefner. I'll be your host today on this episode of Integrated Insights. I'm joined by a couple team members of mine, Andrew and Mason. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. So to get started, can you guys explain what an NDA is and its primary purpose in mergers and acquisitions?
Yeah, I'd say that at the most basic level, it's a legal document that makes sure that your information is confidential. And it's important in our industry to sign NDAs because of the sensitive information that's being passed along. When we engage a client, we sign an NDA between us and them because they are going to be giving us financials, they're going to be giving us employee information, whatever it may be, that we're going to see, and we want them to feel comfortable giving us that information, knowing that it's going to be kept confidential. I would say also it's in our industry, when you're selling a business and you go talk to a buyer or you are under LOI and they start due diligence, they are going to be requesting a ton of information, a ton of employees, customers, all of that. And it's to protect the business while that's in there. And so that's at its most basic level.
NDAs are key. I mean, they are essential for us, right? And almost everybody that we talk to, we push for an NDA, and I will say for our sell side conversations, right? A business owner, we just go ahead and say, hey, let me sign an NDA, right, to make you feel more comfortable. And I've actually gotten quite a few people that say, oh no, I trust you, or just give me your word. Look, I get that, and there are people that want to trust like that, but the purpose, I heard somebody say this, the purpose of an NDA is to foster secure business relationships. And that is something that it is when you can put something in place that will do that. It is so it's an automatic. Hey, I trust this guy because he's going to do whatever to make sure there's confidentiality, right? And so I think that it's a sign of respect and trust to just go ahead and put an NDA in place. Whether you trust the person or not, I mean, even a personal relationship. We asked, we were helping out a family that is, it was a personal relationship that I had, and his parents had a business. His dad had died, and we kind of were walking through what a succession would look like. Very small company, but we asked for a tax return, and I said, I want an NDA in place. And they kind of responded in that way. And I just said, no, I want to send you an NDA so that you guys feel comfortable. And not only that, but I'm trying to be above reproach. And so, and foster that secure business relationship. And the personal and business side, it's difficult to balance, but you put that in place so that it's secure.
That's really good. Mason, I know you kind of mentioned, hey, before we're engaged with a client, we want to make sure that we have that NDA in place. But we also have a lot of meetings with people that don't engage very quickly. So like where in that kind of continuum, what kind of information do we request, or what kind of information does someone volunteer that we start to bring up, like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and send you this over. Because either one, we're requesting XYZ information, or two, you just said this, and I just want you to know that that's not leaving this conversation.
Yeah, I think it's mostly when when somebody comes to us or we have conversations with people and they're interested in a discussion about selling their company, we're going to ask for tax returns, financials, organization chart, all that kind of stuff. And that's when we will send them an NDA and we'll sign it, and just for them to know that their information's secure.
Well, yeah, and they're not engaged yet, right?
Yeah, not engaged. No.
I would also, you mentioned something that was key, right? Somebody that's interested in selling their business. It's not just about the information that is being disclosed. It is about the fact as well that they are open for sale. Right. Yeah. And we make that abundantly clear for every buyer that we talk to, is that, hey, that is part of it. That there's a disclosure of the fact that they're open to sell is that is off the or that is part of it. You cannot disclose that.
Yeah, it's a great point.
That's great. So we talked a lot so far about just the protection that an NDA brings, but how does it also help with communication? How does it impact transparency and communication?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's just the trust level, and you feel a lot more open to share with us things about the business, about whether it be lawsuits or whatever it is. I think you're just open at sharing anything and everything because it helps us prepare as we take the company to market, and we talk with buyers as well.
Yeah, I think that, just to add, there are some things that we'll probably withhold a little bit for a while. I mean, look, we're still not going to disclose customer names to a buyer. We're still not going to disclose employee pay. We just aren't going to do that.
Yeah, pricing, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's something that we tell our clients that, hey, that's not going anywhere. There's a time and a place to disclose that, but we're not going to do that right off the bat.
Yeah, and a lot of times we intentionally don't even ask for that information. So it's in some cases it's volunteered, and then we make sure, knowing that is sensitive info, we go ahead and sanitize. Right, we call it sanitizing the information to make sure that whatever is passed along is only what's needed and necessary at that step. So that's great. So NDAs put in place for protection and to have a positive impact on communication. What happens if an NDA is breached? Like what steps should be taken then?
I'll quickly answer that one. In my words, Mason, you can add. But I think the great thing about an NDA is that it provides the framework for action, right? So it gives the expectation of what is going to happen, right? Hey, so the one that has been violated, I guess you could say, is the one that is they will do X, Y, and Z, or they have the right to X, Y, and Z, and so that's another purpose of this NDA, is to make very clear of what is going to happen, and what they have a right to.
I think it's important at the very beginning, when you're sent an NDA to sign. I think it's important to read it and know what it says and understand it. I think it's easy just to sign it and be done with it, but it's important to read it beforehand. But if you think you're in breach, or somebody has breached your NDA, I think that revisiting it and then seeking legal counsel and advice on what to do next.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact of the matter is, in and of itself, the NDA does nothing, right? If there's no enforcement behind it, if you're not going to stick to what it says and make sure to call out when things appear to be in breach, an NDA is just a piece of paper with a signature on it. So really important to know what you're signing, know what was sent to you. So that's great. So what advice would y'all give to business owners about using NDAs? Mason, I know you just mentioned making sure you read it, but anything that you would add to that?
Yeah, I think reading it, and I don't know if there's anything else I would add to it. I think that if you have questions about it, ask legal counsel or have somebody look over it, because you want to make sure you understand it. And so that's the only other advice I would give.
There are unreasonable asks that people make when they send you an NDA. I've gotten NDAs that I'd say, hey, no, we can't have that in there. And so I think that it is important for us to read it, for your advisor to read it, your counsel, your legal counsel to read it, just because I think that it's important. People put unreasonable asks, and you won't always know the language like an attorney does, right?
Yeah. What do you think is like the most unreasonable ask? Does it have to do with the time frame? Because I feel like that's the one I've gotten the most pushback on, is the length of time. Yeah,
that's one that, I mean, look, there's so many things that are pushed back on. I think that the most unreasonable, it probably surrounds employees, or for us, or even competitors, just because, hey, we retain the right to use this as for the benefit of which is like, I mean, that's part of an NDA, what you have an NDA to make sure that they don't misuse it. Right. And so, or misappropriate it. Right. And so I think that is something that it's probably the most unreasonable ask. I mean, we told them no, and they took it out right away. So it wasn't fought. And there are several things that we have in our NDA that people add in or they want to change, right? The most common one that I've seen change is all things are going to change from text. It changes from the legislation or the enforcement or whatever it is, changes from Texas to Delaware. And that's essentially what a lot of private equity, what a lot of PE groups want. And hey, it's okay.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I would add is just that, like, business owners, use your discretion, right? Like, your business, the information that if it got out, it could be harmful. Like, is the information that you're talking about something that if it was put in the newspaper, your business would suffer? If the answer is yes, then, ask for the NDA before you disclose that information. Even, to us, another advisor, we're talking a lot from our perspective, but there's a lot of advisors out there that may not have the same discretion that we have and may not have the same priority for protecting clients. So making sure that that, as well as like, hey, know your intentions. And because I would say, like in our case, if we have a client that's ready to move forward, go ahead and say, hey, I'd love to give you financials. Like I'm ready to give you whatever you need. I know you haven't asked for anything yet, but I know I want to move forward. I know I'm going to move forward with you. Would you send me an NDA just so that when that time comes, I can just get it back to you and we already got that in place? Because if that is your intention, there's no point in waiting, really. So that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome, guys. Well, that is all the time that we have for this episode. Andrew, Mason, thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of Integrated Insights with ICCG. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories from our team. We love hearing from our listeners. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please send us an email in the show notes. For more information about ICCG, please check us out on our website or follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Until next time, there's always a seat at our table.